Welcome to Flow. Let's get started. Today we'll start off in a cross-legged sitting position. Bring your hands to rest on your knees or your thighs. Allow your eyes to close and take a few moments just to come into your breath. Feel your butt bones rooted down into the mat. Feel your spine grow tall away from the ground. And just take these first few minutes to come into your body. We'll start to find a little movement here with your hands on your knees. Start to draw big circles with your rib cage. So think of shooting your ribs forward and then going around. And we're gonna start off to the right. And you can use your hands on your knees kind of as leverage as you make these big circles. And you'll probably feel yourself shifting from right to left through your butt bones. Just let this be nice and juicy, very flowy. And then start to draw these circles in the opposite direction. Try to make each consecutive circle bigger than the last. Incorporate breath with your movement as you're bringing yourself around. And then bring yourself back to center. Flip to the tops of your feet, bring your hands down, push your hips up for a reverse tabletop. Open through your chest, drop your head if that feels comfortable. Take a few more moments of breath here, and then gently lower your knees down to the ground, and then bring your opposite ankle on top. So you're coming back into your cross-legged position, hands onto your knees, and once again, start to find these big circles through the rib cage. So now that we're a little bit warmer through the upper torso and the chest, maybe you feel yourself able to go a little bit further, a little bit wider in your circles. Let's take like one more in this direction and then go ahead and switch to the opposite direction. And again, you can kind of use your hands as leverage on your knees to increase your circles or to find more opening into the back as you move around. And take one more and then bring your feet again so they're flat. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up once again into this reverse tabletop. Nice and open through the hips, open through the front of the chest. Take a few moments of breath here. And then with control, lower your hips down to the ground and move around to a tabletop position, all fours tabletop. Now from here, keep your right shin on the ground, step your left foot forward, and then start to bring your hips back towards your heels. Flip your right toes under, and then walk your hands forward. So we're gonna start to target into some mobility into your ankle. So you're really bending into your front left knee, and you may feel a little extra stretch into the back of your ankle. That's your left Achilles and your calf. Now we switch. Move your hands back behind you, flip to the top of your right foot. You could step your left foot a little further forward as you push your hips up, and this is just a nice release for the front of your right calf. We're gonna move through those two postures again. So pull your left heel slightly in, bring your hands forward. You could flip your back toes under, and just pause here for a few moments of breath. The further you reach your fingertips forward, the more stretch you'll be getting into the back of your left ankle. And then switch this up, release your back toes, bring your hands behind you, push your hips up, option to drop the head as you push your left foot down into the ground. And then gently release your hips. One final time here, walk your hands forward, flip to the top of your right toes. Walk your hands out in front of you even a little bit further. Try to energize your left heel down to the ground as much as you can. If it's lifted off a little, that's okay. And slowly release, bring your hands back behind you, flip to the top of your right foot, push into your left foot as you press your hips up towards the ceiling. Take one more big breath, and then lower down. Now step your left foot so it comes a little further out in front of you and rotate your right ankle. I call this a pirate pose. Hold here for just a moment. You can kind of take some easy bounces into your front left knee, just getting your hips a little more prepared for this posture. And we're gonna start to move through the upper body. Bring your right hand down, reach your left arm up and over for a variation of a reverse warrior, and then switch. So the left hand comes down, the right arm comes up and over. And we're just gonna move through these two postures, just finding a nice swaying, flowing movement. Feel the length you're creating through your side bodies, and then a lot of nice stability into your front left foot. It's a little less stable here as our points of contact are the right shin and the left foot. And just continue to move this nice flowy movement. And go at your own pace. And then the next time your left hand is down to the ground, stay right there. We're gonna rotate this. Bend your right elbow and bring it behind your lower back. You could drop your left ear down towards your left shoulder. It's just going to encourage your right shoulder a little more open towards the ceiling. Take a few more moments of breath here. And now bring your right hand down to the ground. We're coming into a one-legged tabletop position. Extend your left leg so it comes back behind you, one-legged tabletop position. And then open your left hip, bend your left knee. You could swivel your right shin and bring your left toes down to the ground behind you. So it's a variation of a flip dog. It's just another really nice way to open through the front of the body, into the hips and into the chest. Allow yourself to peel the heart open to your ceiling. And then slowly revolve yourself back to tabletop. We're gonna take all of that on the second side. So now step your right foot down and then flip over through your left toes. So you're finding a nice stretch into your right Achilles. Now you can start to walk your hands forward. Just release your body over. Use the weight of your torso to stretch into the back of your right ankle. Take a few more big breaths here. And then switch, flip to the top of your left foot, bring your hands back, push your hips up, maybe drop the head, press down into your left shin, open through the front of your left quad. And then switch, lower the hips again, bring your hands forward, flip your left toes under and find that nice opening into your right Achilles and right calf. And a little bit of extra mobility into the right ankle. And then slowly start to switch, flip to the top of your left foot, bring your hands back, push your hips up. Feel that opening into the front of your left calf. It could be helpful to bring your right foot a little further forward. And then last round here, lower your hips down to the ground. Maybe bring the right heel back as you walk your hands out in front of you. And just breathe here, take this time. Both feet are getting a little bit of something here. And then slowly switch. Bring your hands so they come behind. Flip to the top of your left foot. Push your hands down. Lift your hips up. Open through the front of your left quad. Take a nice big breath in. And then slowly lower your hips down to the ground. Now from here, step your right foot so it comes further out in front of you. We're moving into that pirate pose. Rotate your left shin. And then just take a few moments to kind of bounce forwards and backwards into that right knee. Just very, very gentle bounces, and then start to move through these two postures. So bring your left hand down, think of a reverse warrior, and then bring your right hand down. And the right elbow can come to the right thigh if the right hand can't make it all the way down to the ground. And just continue to alternate between these two postures. Lengthen through both sides of your waist. Maybe you feel yourself getting a little bit deeper, but allow this to be super flowy. It doesn't have to be very structured. You can kind of just move yourself forwards and backwards. And then the next time your right hand is down, hold there for a moment, bend your top left elbow and sneak your left hand behind your lower back. That's going to encourage your left shoulder a little more open towards the ceiling. You could drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. That's a nice way to open into the left neck. And now bring your left hand down to the ground, slide your right leg back so you're in a one-legged tabletop position. From here, hike your right hip up, bend your right knee, bring your right toes down and flip open. So you're pressing down into your right toes, pressing open through the hips and reaching your right fingertips back. Take one more big breath here and then release yourself back into your tabletop position. Flip your toes under, roll yourself up. So we take just a moment in this position. This is a really great way to stretch through the bottoms of your feet and your toes. If this is a little too intense, shift your weight a little bit forward, meaning less weight on your hips, and maybe you can bring your hands a little closer to the ground. Just breathe into this space, one more big breath, and then slowly transition. We move to downward facing dog. And in this downward facing dog, energize your heels down towards the ground. Maybe experiment with bending and straightening the knees or pedaling through the feet. And we've already experimented a little bit with finding some length into the back of the Achilles, so notice how they may feel a little different coming into this first downward facing dog. As you're bending and straightening, make sure that the knees are tracking right over the toes. Now lift your heels up high, and then rotate your heels to the right. And then lift your heels, come back to center, and rotate your heels to the left. And we do that again. Inhale, lift your heels, and then rotate your heels to the right. And inhale, lift your heels, and then rotate your heels to the left. Inhale to lift your heels, and just lower your heels over to the right again, one more time each side. And lift your heels, rotate over to the left. Lift your heels, bring your heels back to center. Again, try to energize your heels down to the ground. Bring your gaze forward, soften through your knees, and start to walk yourself forward into a ragdoll forward fold. Separate your feet. And we're gonna find some little exercises here. So first, supinate your feet, meaning roll onto the outer edges, the pinky toe edges of your foot. That might bring a pretty intense stretch for your outer shin. Hold there a couple of breaths, and then do the opposite. Pronate through your feet, meaning try to roll onto the big toe section. And then just continue to alternate between these two positions. Maintain a bend of your knees. And stay for like 1 or 2 breaths in each position. And notice your range of motion. Maybe you're able to supinate a little more, or maybe you're able to pronate the toes in. Bring your feet back so they're flat. Roll yourself up to stand. Stack through your vertebrae. And when you come to your standing position, take just a moment here. Notice your toes nice and spread out on the ground. Shoulders pull down the back. And just notice the weight, how it's distributed on your feet. Bring your hands to your hips. And then lift your heels up off the ground. High releve, and then lower. We repeat, just going up and down. Find resistance as you lower the heels, like you're coming down onto marshmallows. And think of trying to take this between 2 panes of glass. So somebody's pulling your earlobes straight up towards the ceiling and then lowering down. And if you need to use a wall or something like that for balance, of course you can find that. We take these parallel releves about 10 times. Just getting them to a little bit of strength work. Then we're gonna take this into a turned out position. So take an easy first position with your heels together, your toes apart. And again, 10 releves. So even though these releves or these heel lifts will activate through the calves, the ankles, the feet, we also feel activation in the core and the glutes. Feel your ribs knitted together. Spread your toes nice and wide. And when you lower your heels, find resistance. So you're not just slamming back down to the ground. If you need to use a wall or any sort of support for balance, feel free to find that. After your 10th, try to hold the heels up. Try to hold in your balance. And then lower. Once again, bring your feet back parallel. Come back to a forward fold position. We're moving into another exercise to extend the Achilles. Keep your feet in parallel, start to bend your knees, try to bring your hips as low as you can, and then lift your hips back up. So we're just moving the hips up and down. Now, as this happens, your heels will likely pop off the ground, and that's okay. But just find that moment where you can no longer keep the connection of your heels to the ground. Notice where that is. Maybe hold there for an extra second, and then lower the hips all the way down and lift the heels. And we take this just a few more times, moving in a parallel position. And again, if you need to use any sort of wall or bar for support, feel free to do that. We're gonna move this into a turned out position, heels together, toes apart. Now the heels will likely need to lift here as well. So just notice that spot. When your hips get so low that you have to lift your heels up off the ground, take just an extra moment there. Find an extra moment for length. Try to keep your heels planted until you no longer can. And now take this one more time. Full range bend, full grand plie, knees over toes, and straighten. We're gonna move on to something else from here. Lift your heels up off the ground. Push your heels together. You can bend your knees if you need to. This takes a lot of control through the ankle, but really through the whole body. Roll yourself up to stand. Again, if you need a wall, find a wall. This is challenging. Try to keep your heels lifted. Keep your heels pushed together. Roll yourself up, keep your ankles lifted. This is a great way to strengthen through the ankles. When you come up to the top, lift your heels, reach your arms up overhead. Nice high releve. Pull yourself up from your arms, pull your shoulders down. Take one more breath. Lower your heels down to the ground. Nice work. Start to just tread through your feet. Take little easy marches, pointing through the toes, just getting a little bit of movement. And then from here, take a few easy releves, bend the knees as a little prep for jump work. So you could stay just kind of rocking forwards and backwards, lifting your toes up off the ground. If you want to add a jump, go ahead and add it here. Think of moving toe ball, heel, toe ball, heel. And all of this jump work is really, really important, not just for performers, but really in your everyday life. Take a few more and then just start to shake out through your feet, let that go. We're gonna come back down to the ground in a tabletop position. Put the tops of your feet on the ground. Just start to kind of pound the tops of your feet. Just finding a little bit of release there, a little bit of shaking. And then swing your legs around in front of you so you're coming to sit. Extend your legs. Move it into a seated forward fold. Bend your knees if you need to in order to grab your feet, and then just move your feet from a flexed position. You could pull your toes back and then point through the tops of your feet. And if you could push your toes down, find that. And if you need to have a bend of your knees to get here, then take that for yourself. And you don't have to use your hands. You can just move your feet on their own. And then slowly bring yourself all the way down to your back. Bring your legs up into the air and start to take some rolls through your ankles. Going in one direction, going in the other direction. And then slowly release your legs so they come long and heavy in front of you. Let your feet be really, really floppy and lazy. Let your arms come down to the side, or you could bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. We just take a few final moments here to come back into your breath. Thank you for joining us. And that's your flow.